The public sector-based approach deals with two sectors, public sector and private sector. The public sector comprises the general government, the central bank, and units in the deposit-taking corporations except the central bank sector, and in other sectors that are public corporations. A public corporation is a non-financial or financial corporation that is subject to control by government units. Control over a corporation is defined as the ability to determine general corporate policy. Any domestic institutional unit that does not meet the definition of public sector is classified as private sector. The private sector can include resident units in the deposit-taking corporations except the central bank sector and other sectors. Consequently, the external debt of public sector and private sector have different coverage of institutional units. Thus, the public sector external debt includes the debt of the general government and central bank. It also includes selected debt liabilities of deposit-taking corporations except the central bank, other sectors, and some intercompany lending. The private sector includes the external debt liabilities of deposit-taking corporations except the central bank, other sectors, and intercompany lending that are not covered in the public sector. For countries in which the public sector is responsible for a large share of the external debt, for example, low-income countries, it is important to identify all the debt owed to non-residents by the public sector. The public sector-based approach is essential when the public sector is involved in external debt borrowing activity, both as a borrower or guarantor. Therefore, it is important to determine whether a resident unit is in the public sector. The arrangements for the control of corporations can vary considerably, so it is not feasible to prescribe a list of factors to determine if a corporation is public. A single indicator could be sufficient to establish control, or in some cases, a number of separate indicators may collectively indicate control. To determine if a corporation is controlled by the government, 8 indicators of control are considered: ownership of the majority of the voting power, control of the board or other governing body, control of the appointment and removal of key personnel such as executive manager, control of key committees of the entity, golden shares and options, regulation and control, control by a dominant customer, and control attached to borrowing from the government. Considering these factors in determining the attribution of a resident unit to the public sector will ensure adequate coverage of the public sector for assessing its risks and vulnerability.